little bit in my heart, I was like, oh, look at that cute little baby dragon. And he goes, oh, no, 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 I'm not a cute little baby dragon. He goes, I came down to your level so you can see me. I'm coming with you to resonate with you. And this is a reminder that, especially if you're working on your telepathy or your intuition in some way, you have to be resonating at the same frequency in order to communicate with a being, right? I'm able to talk to Crystal because Crystal and I resonate on the same level. And you'll notice people come in and out of your life. If they don't resonate with you anymore, they're just going to vanish. And that doesn't always happen in any way. Sometimes they can just move on, right? And I meant that like they get a new job and move to another state, not that they pass away, though that can also happen. I just realized that sounds so morbid. They move on.
That was a good clarification.
Better pastures. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's all true.
Sometimes it happens, you know what I mean? And oh my gosh, so I was not intending to touch on this, but we do have this whole series lined out, and we have non-physical nonsense coming up. We also have multidimensional travel, and these are actually the sessions where we're going to talk so much more about traveling and about the dimensions. And so just remember, sometimes when that happens, people are just moving into another dimension or another reality. Their frequency is changing, and yours might be changing too, but you're just no longer on the same resonance. So if you're more interested in that, stay tuned. We got these every month on second Thursdays at 7 p.m. So I hope you join us. And the recordings are available, so if you can't make it live, just watch the recording. So this dragon starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we did this in at least 7 steps. Like he got bigger and I was like, oh my God, he's so big. And then I kind of got used to that frequency. And then he did it again and again and again. And this dragon was so ginormous. It was such a beautiful vision. So when I said he started as a baby dragon, it was probably the size of his nose, and then his entire being became just massive, bigger than the entire. I live in an apartment complex, bigger than the building I live in. It was large, and again, that's what those dragons represent. They represent power, and this one was a green dragon, which I'm so excited about. And if you get into and there are so many dragon studies out there. There's so much information about dragons. I love it. But green dragons particularly oftentimes resonate with the heart chakra. And so this was a powerful, heartfelt dragon, if you will. He's very benevolent. And he kind of, I don't know if you guys care about this, but he kind of kicked me in the pants and told me to get my stuff together and to exert power more, to really, I don't want to say be more powerful because my level of power is the same, but I can oftentimes be amenable to other people. And the message that I received out of this experience was to really just stop taking crap and to tell people to shut up. Just very interesting. I just put it all together, right? Comes full circle, right? And so the other one I wanted to touch on in terms of other beings is this guy named Bernie. And so I got to tell you right off the bat, when we meet people, sometimes we don't even know they are there. Bernie hung around with me for about 10 years, and I think I realized he was there around year 6. And he showed up in a time in my life where I was adventuring a lot. I was well, and he was there for 10 years, right? So I was maybe around 18 when he showed up, and honestly, he's probably there longer than 10 years now that I'm thinking about it, but a long time. And especially in those early years, I was really building my own life at that point. I moved out of my parents' house, and I really needed a lot of self-sufficiency and ingenuity. And I forgot to tell you guys all about Bernie. Those are all the lessons I learned, or some of them. But Bernie was basically a sailor. He depending on the day, he truly was a merchant, but he would run into pirates And so when you run into pirates, things get a little dicey. And so he was very much that guy that was kind and respectful, but like you did not want to mess around with or he would kill you. And I both love that, but I also want that to truly be a reminder that some of these beings that you're running into, and you know, the dragon can kill me. What else did we have on our list? Like a whale could eat me. We could have Moby Dick all over again, right? And I'm glad you
But not the
laughed.
salamander.
No, well, I don't think so, but it does make me think they have those tiny poisonous tree frogs and things like that.
Fair enough.
Like, really what I want people to take out of this little fun moment is that you really don't know.
Mhm.
When you're talking to an alien or a stranger or something you don't recognize, you just don't know.
Pursue with caution.
Yeah, as you would. And honestly, arguably, humans are really dangerous. Like, think my advice to you would be to approach it like you do any other situation, right? There are most definitely people murdering people out there. We don't need to worry about that most of the time, but that can happen. So it's good to know when someone pulls up in a van with candy that you probably don't want to get in it, right? Yeah, I appreciate it. I love it. I love that you're here today too. I really do. It's a special opportunity.
Changes energy.
It does. It really does. So we're talking about Bernie. Bernie's a sailor. He's a real grit guy. He can, you know, MacGyver anything you need. And think of it. He sails across oceans. And also he was from a older time. I want to say like 1780s is kind of what he's saying. So they really had old things. Like it wasn't like they just had a motor that they turned on. Like they're sailing and things are breaking and there's water coming in their boat or whatever, right? It was pretty rough and tough out there. And you're also like on the ocean for, I can't remember exactly, but like 4 or 6 months at a time, right? It's crazy, crazy. I would not want to do that. But Bernie did teach me a lot of ingenuity that he had learned. He taught me a lot of good skills for MacGyvering things or making things work with what you have. And all of that has really helped me in my life. And part of the reason I wanted to bring Bernie into the conversation was to remind you that most of the time when someone is showing up, they are there to help you in some way, even if it might not seem like it. And in this case, I didn't even know he was there for the longest time. I I was, and remember this was earlier in my journey, so I wasn't quite as advanced in my abilities. And I will say so much of this just takes practice. It's not that you have to you know, have some advancement. That's not what we're talking about. I'm just saying that the more that you practice it, the better you'll get, the easier it is to communicate with non-humans, the easier it is to have conversations with people telepathically. And that's kind of where we're heading in this conversation. I ran into so many beautiful beings just now, but I will tell you there was one I ran into, and I just don't know what to call him, so I'm gonna tell you about him. Because do you know the guys, like they're not real guys, they're like often at car dealerships, and they're the blow up things, and they have the crazy arms, and they're like a marketing tool. And so it looked kind of like that, and it was almost if you mix that with heat rising off the pavement, know how it kind of squiggles, like that was the makeup of this guy's body. It was just squiggly the whole way through. I truly don't know what kind of being it is. And let's take a second. Let's see if they'll give us a name. They're saying Mortamous. Mortamous is his name. Do you have a species of sort? And he just tells us we wouldn't know it. He's saying he's from very far away in another galaxy. He's making a joke because I think aliens are kind of a joke in the sense that that word is a joke, because an alien is just someone you don't know. I don't think of that as galactic beings, but he's making a joke because he goes, "Oh, I'm an alien." Which I think is so funny. I tend to draw a lot of funny people, which I'm so grateful for. And I just wanted to share that with you because like that's a great example where like I want you to know that if you run into something that's very common that you don't know what they are. I do this all the time. I usually run into people where I don't even know who they are. I don't know why they're there at first. Who are we and what are we doing? And another example of that is I had some non-physical beings come into my apartment, respectfully, looking for healing. One of their children was terminal, and so they had come to my apartment seeking a healing, but they were really scary at first. And I was kind of like, who the heck is back there? You don't belong in my house, was the attitude I showed up with. And we obviously had that conversation. I found out that their child was there and was there for healing. And I was able to help them ultimately. But I want to use that as an example too, because you really have to ask questions. It's truly like meeting a stranger, and you don't know how they're going to act or what their tendencies are. And I love some of these examples that we have with mermaids and dragons and things like that, right? Some of these beings have different abilities, and some of them have abilities that we don't even know about. And so I might go to a dragon and be like, oh, he's way over there, I'm fine. But then he breathes his fire at me and oops, no, I'm not. Right? Like be ready for new things, I guess. Not for what you don't expect, but be ready. You know, we're moving through this beautiful world where new things are happening all the time. And sometimes we think our lives are so stable, and they're just not. We are making decisions every single day to live exactly how we want to live in this moment. And those are building over time. And you might, as an example, think, because I live where I grew up, right? And I know that's not true for everybody, but there's nothing to say that I'm not just going to get on a plane tomorrow and move somewhere else. Like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen, but if I wanted to, I could significantly change my life rapidly, and know that there's a bit of an illusion of stability sometimes. But I certainly hope that y'all ran into somebody fun. And I will say too, I like to draw pictures, especially if I don't know what something is. I'll draw a picture a lot, and that way I can remember. And I'll also make up my own names. And so, especially when I was a kid, I did this so much because I didn't know normal words. So like I didn't know anybody else either. Um, uh, and like I'm trying to think of a couple, but like I had big curtains in my room as a kid with flowers on them, and there was this guy that would always show up in the flowers, so I called him Mr. Flowers. There was another guy that looked like a blueberry, Mr. Blueberry, right? These names don't have to be expansive. But we did have Mortamous come in, and so I do want to yeah, just honor him with a moment to see if he has anything to share with us. He operates very differently. He's very, I want to call it dim. He's very dark, but I don't want you to take that the wrong way. It's almost like the dark side of the moon. It's such a subtle energy. And he's really talking about kind of like we don't even know. Like we're sitting here having this session about aliens, animals, and other beings, and he's like, you don't even know yet. Like we can talk about axolotls and mermaids all day, and all kinds of like hybrid animal, human, galactic beings that are nearby. And especially with that description of what he looks like, he it almost is like a water vapor. It's kind of half physical, half non-physical, like you could move through it. I don't believe this, but we see movies where there's like the ghost and someone walks through a ghost and then they're all slimy. It's kind of like that. But in my mind, most of our real ghosts are non-physical, so don't take that as word. But he's really reminding us to be open. He's telling us that there's so much more coming, and wants us to have faith in the goodness. And he's reminding us very specifically about those everyday actions, those actions that we take that might seem so minuscule, but they're truly not. Really, these are built over time, right? And he's reminding us about time, and that time is nonlinear, and that we are learning so much right now, not only about time and physics and quantum physics and space travel and all of these things. And he's speaking to this, not only this expansiveness, but a daily reminder to know that wherever you are here now, right in this moment, whatever your energetic frequency and vibration is all it ever is, right? The past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist, and it's really important to maintain your own vibrancy. I hope you all feel empowered. I hope you all feel ready to go out and meet some strangers. We will see you next time.